Okay, so I'm going to go over this post test for Unit 1. I still want you to try and do your best on this, so don't just go, I'm not going to just give you all the answers. I want you to think about this. So we're talking about the structural analysis and author's purpose on question 1. It says, select the answer, the correct answer, which would be helpful to identify a problem and a solution text structure. 1, or A, how are the elements different from each other? So that really doesn't fit because there's no problem solution in that sentence structure. What details are used to describe the topic? That would be more of a descriptive essay, so that doesn't fit our question. Do the steps described need to be completed in a particular sequence? That would be more of a sequential, giving you instructions on how to do something. And then the last one would be, what have people done to try to resolve this issue? That seems to fit because there is a problem and a solution, such as how do we overcome the coronavirus in our country right now, and most states chose to social distance. So we would probably choose D in that example. The next question is, select the answer from each drop-down menu. Vern is trying to determine the author's purpose of a text he is reading. Give him advice on what to do by completing the sentences. Divide the text into sections and identify blank of each section. So we have the option, divide the text into sections and identify either the supporting details or the main idea. Well, I think that we want to know what the main idea is of each section, so that's the one I would choose. And then think about the blank questions you have for the author about the text and why the author structured the information this way. Put the parts together to determine the author's purpose for writing. So if you look at this, it's why the author structured information this way would be the correct answer on that one, because we want to know why he created that those paragraphs. Okay, number 3. What structure has the writer used in this passage? So here are our options. We have chronological order, problem, solution, cause and effect, compare and contrast. I didn't mean to have that answer button clicked. Chronological order is the answer, as you probably already saw. And the reason why, it's because of these keywords that you see. First, you should divide your close. Then is another keyword. Next is another keyword. And then it says finally. So first, second, third, first, next, then, finally. Those are chronological order words. If there was a problem and solution, up here you would see the problem presented, and in the closing of the paragraph you would have a solution. A cause and effect, you would show the effect of something, such as the effects of coronavirus on people, and the cause of it is that it attacks the lung tissue. Compare and contrast. If you were comparing an apple and an orange, you would talk about how apples and oranges are both fruits. They're both sweet and juicy, but they have different flavors and different textures. So those are the 4 different types of author's purpose and the structure for the writing. Okay. Match the text structure with its description. All right. Use details to provide new information about a topic. So description, cause and effect, compare and contrast. So there's not a cause or an effect listed here, or we're not comparing and contrasting. What we're doing when we provide new details is we're giving a description. So that would be that one. Described why an event happened and what as the result. For example, the economy is being hindered right now because of the coronavirus and having to shut everything down. So that would be a cause and effect. Identify two topics and discuss how they are alike and how they are different. If you're comparing a tornado to a hurricane, they are both storms. They both have wind and do damage and can be very dangerous, but a hurricane is much larger and slower moving. So compare and contrast would be that. Okay, so number 5. One of the purposes of Mark Twain's Taming the Bicycle is to entertain the reader. So the author's purpose of Taming the Bicycle is to entertain. He is relating the bicycle to an animal, such as you would tame a horse. And he has himself and the expert, who is probably someone that is more experienced in riding a bicycle and teaching him how to do so. So if you read this passage, we examined the machine, but it was not in the least injured. This was hardly believable, yet the expert assured me that it was true. In fact, the examination proved it. I was partly to realize then how admirable these things are constructed. We applied some Pond's extract and resumed. The expert got on the other side to shove up this time, but I dismounted on that side, so the result was as before. The machine was not hurt. We oiled ourselves up again and resumed. This time the expert took up a sheltered position behind, but somehow or other we landed on him again. He was full of surprised admiration, said it was abnormal. She was all right, not a scratch on her, not a timber started anywhere. I said it was wonderful while we were greasing up, but he said that when I came to know these steel spider webs, I would realize that nothing but dynamite could cripple them. Then he limped out to position, and we resumed once more. This time the expert took up position of shortstop and got a man to shove up behind. We got up a handsome speed and presently traversed a brick and went over the top of the tiller and landed head down on the instructor's back and saw the machine fluttering in the air between me and the sun. It was well it came down on us, for that broke the fall and it was not injured. So in this story, he's making it sound like the machine is an animal. And this is the humorous line, because the fact of the matter is they were the ones that were injured. And he said that it's good that the bicycle came down on top of them, because then it was not injured. So that brings a little light to the story. So this is the answer. This helps us to know that this is a humorous story to entertain. Okay, number 6. This is a story about a safety lamp that was invented for underground mines. And it goes into detail about when it was constructed, why it was constructed, and what it did to improve safety. So this was not to entertain. It wasn't to persuade anything. There was no persuading that you should use this lamp. It was not an instruction on how to do something. So the answer here would be C. It was an informational text to tell you about the history of the miners' lamps. Okay, select the correct answer. Read the passage. At the end of semester, Mr. Garcia will be retiring. Mr. Garcia has been with Davidson Middle School for over 40 years. Beginning as a history, Mr. Garcia had spent most of his career as an English instructor. He is known for starting the school paper, the debate team, and the Shakespearean performance troupe. As part of his farewell party, we would like to ask everyone who took a class with him to sign the class card. Please feel free to add a fun detail reference to an event that made his class memorable. Which phrase describes the author's purpose? Was it to influence teachers to become an English teacher? No, there's nothing in there that would give us any indication that he was trying to get us to become an English teacher. Was it to inform everyone on the instructor's achievements? Well, that is part of it because it talks about his as being a English instructor and he worked there for 40 years. And the things that he did, that was not the main purpose of this passage. To invite faculty to the retirement reception. There's not an invitation to the reception. It is just mentions a farewell party. To invite students to sign the farewell card. That would be the answer because in this passage, he actually is asking everyone to sign the card. So the main purpose of this passage was an invitation to sign the farewell card. In our contemporary society, far too many people are more interested in what is happening on their phones than the people around them. So on this one, you're supposed to drag the tiles to form correct pairs. Not all tiles will be used. This one is a little bit challenging, so I'm going to show you the answer key and explain why each one is there. The text statement, you would not walk away while someone was talking without saying anything. That is to present a similar situation that logically proves the point. So it's trying to get you to relate to the author's purpose of this text. The next one is without eye contact, it is nearly impossible to be fully engaged in conversation. This explains why attention to one's phone can hurt relationships. This habit is hurting relationships and shortening attention spans. This is basically the main topic of the essay. So this is an overall thesis governing what is being argued in this text. Okay. Why do authors use irony in fiction and literary nonfiction texts? This is to create a contrast between how things seem and how they really are. And to give you an example of what this looks like in the Disney movie Monsters, Inc., they had to scare children in order to gain energy for their city. And so the child's scream in the beginning of the movie was what caused the energy level to go up. However, in reality, the monsters were deathly afraid of the children. So that is an ironic movie. Another Disney ironic movie would be Ratatouille, where the rat became the chef. The irony there is that in most restaurants, in all restaurants, rats are considered a health hazard and are a disdain to a kitchen, and yet in this movie the rat actually did do the cooking. So that is ironic. So the contrast is how things seem. For example, it seems like the monsters want to scare the children and be mean. How they really are is the monsters were terrified of the children. So that is what dramatic irony is. Okay, so on this one, Moby Dick was a whale, and Ahab, the captain, was the ship. He was on board for the ship, and it talks about the dents on Ahab's furrowed brow. A furrowed brow is when you